Welcome, welcome, welcome. Is it going? Hello. Welcome everyone to the third live stream of the year. We're live. Third live stream of the year. We're going to be doing Q&A today. This takes a while for people to come into the stream, so I've got a few questions lined up here from the channel this week. So I hope you're doing well, and let's get into it. Without further ado. So yeah, I've got a question here about drinking water, so we'll start with that one. That's a newish kind of question, and then I'm just going to jump in to my channel and seek up some other ones that we've got. I'm just looking here for the other questions. So yeah, hope people are doing well, and if you're watching this in the replay, you can just scroll through the ramble. At the start, I always do a little bit of this so that we can wait for people to jump in. Yeah, so it's Monday morning for me here in Perth, and I think it will be Sunday night for people in the rest of the world. Maybe it'll be Sunday afternoon if you're in the UK. Middle of the day, maybe lunchtime if you're over in Sydney and Melbourne and that sort of stuff. So let's have a look here. What are we doing? So this question is about water. Emma Pilates says, Marie, can you talk about how much water intake impacts the spleen? I'm a fitness professional and they're all about drinking lots and lots of water, but I feel so much healthier when I don't drink much. Yeah. So this is the Chinese medicine take on it. Now, I did make a video on this once before, a while ago, so it's there in the channel somewhere, and it's about water. It's just called, surely it's just called drinking water. See if I can find it in here. The general idea with water is that so there's a general amount of water that we say you should drink, but then there's also it may vary depending on the kind of diet that you have as well, right? And it can sort of vary on the constitution. So what we want to do is look at what's healthy for some people and not so healthy for others on that same volume of water. But in general, we would say your body can filter around 2 litres of water a day of liquid, including, like, water included. So 2 litres is in the gallons, I'm not sure. Yeah, just trying to think of it. 2 litres, about half a gallon of water. Okay, so roughly. Okay, it's a bit. I think it might be shy of that. Might be 700 to 1800 mils or something in a half a gallon. So that's how much your body can capacitate normally. Now, if you're sweating a lot and you're exercising a lot, you are going to use more water because you're sweating. When you sweat, water comes out. Or you not water, and that's the other thing, the other part of this question, which is it sweat or is it water? It's not just water. So just checking the audio's right on this, because it's one of those things that probably just should check as we go. That it's maybe loud enough. Maybe I could turn it up a little bit more. Let's have a look here. Yeah, the only way I can do this is go on my own live stream. So 2 litres of water a day is roughly how much your body can capacitate in a natural state, right? And then seasons are different as well. And then what you actually eat makes a difference too. So if you're on a much more drier kind of diet, then you may find that you can have, I'm just going to check this audio. You may find that you need more water if you're eating a more dry diet. Then you may find that okay, that's fine. That's loud enough. So for instance, I'll give you a little bit of anecdotal stuff from myself. So I've talked about this a little bit before about the carnivore diet, and I've done a thing called 75 hard. I'm not doing it right now, but I did it in January. I've done it 3 times. Okay, so if you're in the fitness industry, you must know what 75 hard is. Okay, And one of the times I did that program, I did the carnivore diet strictly, and the one before that I did kind of semi-carnivore keto, and before that I did a different diet which ended up being carnivore just by itself. So anyway, it doesn't matter. That was 3 years ago that I started this thing. Every year I've done the 75 hard, right, for those years. And you have to drink a gallon of water a day, right, which is heaps of water. It's almost 4 litres. It's 3.75 litres. It's a lot of water. And I thought, oh, this is ridiculous. This is crazy. It's not good in Chinese medicine. But I wanted to do the program, and with this program, you can't change anything. Otherwise, you're not doing it. So I was like, right, I'm going to do it. And what I found is doing it first time when I was eating, just like portion controlling and things like that, but allowing myself to have some rice, or, I was having pasta sometimes, but not, and yeah, I still lost weight actually on that diet, but I was, controlled. It was within the restrictions of the diet. Versus a carnivore diet, I needed that water. Right? I could easily drink that water, easily drink 4 litres of water a day. And I think that because that kind of diet is a drier diet, so for your clients and for yourself, it depends on what else they're having. So if you're actually absorbing moisture from everything, so I'm having coffee right now, there's moisture in that, there's liquid in that. Now you could argue that your body's not going to absorb as much of that as it would a glass of water. Yeah, that's totally true. But it will, because of caffeine, right? But it does absorb water, and there've been studies that people that drink coffee all day still absorb water from what's in that coffee. So it depends on all the other stuff. Now you've got to monitor your own body. So you're saying you feel better not drinking so much, so that's fine. Just don't go crazy on the water. If you're getting up at night to urinate, okay, then that's too much water. I also had a patient once who was had a swollen knee, and when we did the intake, we were sort of talking about what she did, and she was in that fitness kind of industry as well, and it was just one knee swollen, and she was drinking a lot of water, 4 litres of water almost a day. And at that point, I'd never heard it. I don't think she was doing 75 hard, but she was just drinking a lot of water. And we did the acupuncture for her knee, and I also said to her, just, you don't need to drink so much water, like that's, not that healthy, blah, blah, blah. She reduced the water and the swelling went down. Now, the swelling, drinking all that water isn't going to cause swelling, but where you've got the weakness, that's why one knee swelled up and not both knees swelling up, because you had some kind of weakness there, some kind of inflammation there, and it showed up there. So yeah, if you've got issues to do with water not being properly metabolized, that's something that you need to go and have help with. Because like if you're very, very, this might not be you personally, but the people watching this, and also if people have questions who are watching this, please feel free to chime into the chat. I'm only doing these questions like this to get the chat going, to get the stream going. If you have what was I going to say? I've lost my train of thought there. Yeah, so if you're drinking too much, you will maybe be urinating at night. That's one thing. Now, you can urinate at night and, oh, that's right, you're thirsty. Let's say you're really thirsty and you're drinking and you almost can't quench that thirst, and you're weeing all the time, but you're still really thirsty. And it's not because you're trying to force to drink the water, you're just thirsty. Then there's probably an issue there. Or if you're drinking a lot and you're very dry still, like that's not great either. So when you sweat, that's the other thing I wanted to mention. That's not just water. That is, that's fluid that your body's produced. Yes, it comes, you drink water and that, you absorb and things like that. And then you have to make that water. Sorry, my phone's ringing in the background. I'll just have to let the message machine get it. So anyway, that's the first question answered. So roughly about 2 litres of water a day is good. If you have other things that you're doing with your body, you're exercising a lot, then you may increase it more. And if you've got a very dry kind of diet, just see what you need. But the main answer to this question, which I haven't even mentioned, is everything you take in in Chinese medicine requires energy to digest it. Okay, everything that you do, and you're to live 100 healthy years, you're trying to reduce all of that load on your body. So yeah, hopefully the stream's getting shared. It's a bit of low numbers today. I'm not sure if I don't know if I've done something with the settings or whatever, but sometimes it seems like it shares it out and sometimes it doesn't, or people are just busy. Let's have a look here. What else have we got? Questions, Q&As. I'm just going to try and ram through a few of these questions quicker than others. So we've got a question here about Qigong healers. This is just from the channel, like really recently. It says, Marie, do you know any Qigong healers? So, look, I don't know any offhand. Oh, hi, Taras Bergen. Awesome. Welcome to the stream. Feel free to ask a question if you'd like to. But I want to put this on the screen, this question here, the Qigong, because I did an interview with Sifu Gawain. Did I forget his last name? Or that's, yeah, I just it's all like that. Anyway, I'm not sure what name we used on the channel. Anyway, his name is Gawain. And we talked about in that very question, like, how do people seek out a person? And this is the kind of interview where if you're interested in Qigong, Tai Chi, that kind of stuff, learning Kung Fu, all those things are kind of often related. There are kind of related teachers there. I'm just going to try and see if I can find this interview, and I will try to link it here. Even sometimes I can't find the I can't find the videos that I want to find here. The long interview here, where is it? Yeah, so we just called it something like, I'm just going to copy it and put it in the comments here. Okay, so this is for this person, and I will hopefully link. I'm just going to put that answered on today's stream. So he'll have to come, or she'll, Simply Social will have to come and look at the stream. And so yeah, that's a great thing to go and watch. And he and I talk a little bit about that, how to find a teacher. It's a bit of a conversation there. Hi Jacqueline. Sorry, not Jackie, Jacqueline. Yeah. So Taras, okay, we've got I'm just going to snip your question and put it in the chat there. Cool. We're going to get rid of this one here. Yes. So we've got a question about cortisol belly. I think this is one of those modern, this name is one of those modern things. I see it advertised a lot. You don't have fat, you've just got cortisol belly. Are you menopausal? Have you really stressed? You've got cortisol belly, right? As in, I'm not making fun of you at all. I'm just saying, like, it's one of those things that, like, it's the new catchphrase of medicine, like, you know, and yeah, so there's not a cortisol belly in Chinese medicine, okay. There's a few ways to kind of think about this, and so you've said how to get rid of the cortisol belly. Thank you for your answer. Formula plus points, okay. So I can't give you a formula, and I can't give you acupuncture points. that you can acupuncture, obviously, because you need to go and see a practitioner to get this, and I can talk about what kinds of formulas they may use, but what sort of formula they're going to use, it really depends on your pulse diagnosis. And if herbs are prescribed inappropriately, you'll feel worse on them. But there are herbs that, so let me just explain to you why you need to see a practitioner for this and have it properly prescribed, because to really get to the root of what this would be in Chinese medicine would probably fit into a wood invading earth scenario for some people. Okay, earth is deficient, the earth element, which is your spleen and your stomach, and so therefore you get bloating and you get like this sort of fat that won't shift, right? So there's not enough yang to transform the yin, right? And at the same time, you might be really overwhelmed in a stress response scenario, right? Where you're, like they're saying, your body's producing too much cortisol all the time. And not in every case, so I can't say that that's what this is. That would be wrong of me to say that that's, I'd have to, so if I had 5 patients who to come in and said, Maria, I think I've got this cortisol belly, I need you to help me, I have to do the due diligence in Chinese medicine to work out their pattern of disharmony, right? So it's not like I'm not trying to give you the answer, but it's likely that if that wood is invading earth, there's like, it's either the earth is deficient and it's letting wood invade it, or that we need to work on strategies to make sure wood has its own movement and it's not getting what we call in TCM liver qi stagnation. So singing, laughing, and exercise, those strategies for wood can sometimes be useful. Creativity, right? So these are not things that are going to fix that cortisol belly, but they're going to be things like directly, but they're things that are going to help that liver qi move and go smoothly. So it's less likely to, you're going to be in a state of health and harmony rather than a state of, that always kind of happening. And then at the same time, you need to strengthen that earth. Now, formulas that TCM practitioners are going to tell you, or that if you look up formulas for TCM, this kind of stuff, it's going to be stuff like Buzhong Ichi Tang, and maybe it's very, very simplest one could be something like Sejunza Tang. These are sorry, talking so much and getting dry here. These are qi tonics, but in my experience, they're not enough to transform that yin, all that fat properly. You need more warmer herbs in the mix. Okay, so that's the difference between classical Chinese medicine. They're going to use more warmer herbs, but normally people have to go through a process to be able to get there. Okay, now the thing that replicates that in acupuncture is actually moxibustion, right? So you've said here, I just want to know your points, right? So I would, if you didn't have any herbs to use, or you didn't have a herbalist you could see, then I would go down the road of moxibustion. So especially if when you palpate your belly, it's very cold compared to the top part, right? I'm just pressing up here because of the video, but like if you've got your abdomen like that and underneath your belly button, it's very cold. And that's kind of usually where all that fat kind of is sitting, in that lower part of the belly. Even the whole belly feels really cold, right? That's a lack of yang. So there's a thing called moxa or moxibustion, and a practitioner will be able to show you how to use it properly, and then you can go home and do it on yourself. And you need to do it every day, right? You need to use, sorry, I've got an itchy nose here. You need to use the moxa stick on that area. So the points would be like Ren 12, Ren 6, Ren 4. That's the points on the middle of your body. Or sometimes they're called conception vessel. Okay, and the other point that you could moxa would be stomach 36. And the point is you're doing it every day, because you can do it on yourself every day. You just have to find a place outside where you can sit, or turn off your smoke alarms because it's going to get smoky. You need the proper moxa sticks. You need to be shown how to do it by a practitioner. I'm not advising people to do this by themselves because you can easily burn yourself, But Moxa and moxibustion and the devices to use it, like Moxa boxes and stuff, are things you can get from, you can buy them online. But what you need to do is go and see your acupuncturist first. Ask them, tell them that you want to learn, and make sure if you don't have an acupuncturist, go and call one up and ask, look, I want to learn how to do self-moxa. I think this is what I need. If I come in and do a session with you, will you show me how to do it? And some of them are going to say no. Some of them are going to say yes. If someone said that to me, I'll probably say yes, because I have done that before. If I meet a person who I feel like isn't going to be able to do it safely on themselves, then I'm not going to show them how to do it, because we don't want people to burn themselves. There's a big chance you can burn yourself. So it's almost with anything that's like powerful enough to help you, it's also powerful enough to hurt you. It's the same with the herbs, right? The warm herbs. We need this warmness. So those are the points that they sound simple points, like stomach 36. It sounds like a simple point, like an everyday point, but that's where I would start. Like if you're doing it every day, you're repeatedly treating that's you're strengthening that spleen and that stomach, that earth element. The other point that's sort of opposite that spleen and stomach is going to be spleen 9. So they're on your knee. So you've got stomach 36 on the outside of your knee and spleen 9 on the inside of the knee. And they're like both dually tonifying the spleen and stomach together, the earth. And the spleen 9 is really more about that dampness. So it strengthens that damp, right? So Tara says, we have winter now at work. We have hand warmers. Can hand warmers do it? Yeah, that's a good question. Applying heat can do something, but it's not the same thing. So how moxibustion works is actually like a really interesting thing, right? I don't know if I've got a picture here. I'll see if I can find one, so I can use this as we talk. I will have one here somewhere on computer. Yeah, all right. So I've got a picture here somewhere of the stick, the Moxa stick. It actually, so this is one of the reasons why I don't use, that's why I don't use what they call smokeless Moxa, because it's just almost as I'm just looking for the picture here. It's almost as shit as not as using like what you're saying, hand warmers, right? Like, so on a practitioner level, practitioners are going to hate me for saying that, but there's things called charcoal Moxa, which is like, trying to, here we go. Here's a picture of me doing it on a foot. I'm going to put this on the screen for you. Just give me one sec. It's a big photo, so it's sort of sitting there. Okay, put it there. Right, there we go. There's the Moxa. Okay. And we're still answering your question somewhere, so your question will be there somewhere on the page. Yeah, so this person's saying, I use sometime electric bulb as Moxa. What do you think about that? Yeah, so I'm just going to say no, it's not the same thing. So in Chinese medicine, they have all kinds of contraptions, heat lamps, stuff like that, where people are using heat on that. Now, heat makes blood vessels expand, so it does get more blood flow in there. But the stick of the Moxa itself, I'll try and make this big so you can kind of see. It's actually made of mugwort. There you go. And there should be a little bit of sort of smoke, coming out when you're doing it. Even the ones that say they're low, there's just no avoiding the smoke of the Moxa. The herb itself is doing something. Okay, it's not just the heat. The herb itself is actually penetrating into that area. So there's something about that is, and I've tried this with other things, and it's almost like I know that how well this works, so I don't want to sort of risk it with other things. Now, fair enough, I haven't had hundreds of patients where I've used the smokeless Moxa, which is like a little charcoal thing that sits, a little charcoal stick like this, or a little piece of charcoal that sits on the top of the needles. But for about 3 years, I wasn't allowed to use Moxa because I was in a different clinic and I was working in a clinic with a bunch of naturopaths. And I just used it as I normally would. And they were like, oh, what's this weird smell? And I was like, this is what I do. They were like, I was like, haven't you smelled Moxa before? And they were like, no, they didn't like it at all. The downside of the Moxa is it lingers in the clinic, right? And I understand that. You've had some patients don't mind it. Some patients come in, they go, oh yeah, I can smell that Moxa. And, they just know that's what it is. Now there's exhaust fans you can get that I have like now that's kind of, it's not an exhaust fan. It's like a air purifier. The good thing about COVID is they got, popular and then cheaper. So these carbon filters can get rid of some of the stuff. But what I'm saying is I had 3 years without using any Moxa on some of my patients, and I noticed a big difference, especially for things like pain, which is when I moved back here to this, when I moved to this clinic that I'm in now. I'm all by myself and no one else. There's only me to complain about me. So I can do it. So what I'm getting at is this is the best thing, and you need to go and see. I'm not sure what country you live in. And I don't want to sound mean to say you can't just do it by yourself. It is something that you need someone to train you. It might seem like, oh, that stick seems fine. Bits of that ash can drop off. It will, depending on the brand of the stick that you buy, the quality, pieces will drop off and you can easily burn yourself. So you need to be trained on how to use it properly so that doesn't happen. And then once you know how to use it, it's a skill you can use forever, right? For ages. And you can actually buy a little box that Moxa stick goes into, and I've got a little box here. Just give me 1 second. So these are the sticks that I use. I'll just get rid of this picture here now. This is the Moxa box that you can buy. So you can buy them like this, and it has a little stick there that like you can hold it like a little holder. I don't use that in the clinic. And then this little part here is like, it's like it contains the ash if some drops down, but you still have to, this is not me training you how to use it, just so you know, you need to be properly trained how to use it. So there's a little bit in the bottom, I don't know if camera's going to pick that up, that sort of holds the stick. So there's a little sort of gripper, and you have to light the stick first. You'd obviously never touch that end, that'll be red hot. And then every so often you've got to take this out and sort of ash it off and then put it back in. But what this box allows you to do is, I'm afraid of fire. Okay, well, this isn't going to be for you then, I'm just trying to help you. Once this thing is there, then you can have that sat on your back or on your belly, but you need to make sure this is exactly, but this is what a practitioner will be able to do on you. So you could just go and have the treatments with a practitioner. And there will be fire, like there will be not big fire, but so that's the other mechanism of how this works is that it's causing what we call a first degree burn to the skin, which is a redness. So it's not just the heat. It's got to be like that little bit of that heat where it feels like, oh, that's a bit hot, and it's not hot enough for it to feel like it's going to burn you more than a first degree burn is a redness. So if you go in a hot shower and you feel really, really, really good from that, but it's like right on the edge of it being a bit too hot for you, that's causing your body to release healing chemicals that are for a burn, but there isn't a burn. So it's utilizing that to do its healing for whatever else is wrong with you, like your back pain or whatever, or your shoulder pain. And we're talking about this cortisol belly, so not so much for pain, but we're stimulating that yang to, that's kind of what you could do, okay? So you could still just press stomach 36, but moxering it would be even better than pressing it. And you can get those little massage guns or massage tools, and you can do those. You could do that. You could do the pressing, on those points. So hopefully that's helping you. Do other people have are there any other questions? It's the next question. It's going to get this off the screen there. Yeah, so there's plenty of tonic formulas for treating the spleen qi. Like Li Zhong 1 is a common classical formula that works on like tonifying the spleen and stomach, but from a warming perspective. And that formula is like at the core of many other, it sort of like warms the body to reduce the damp. It's sometimes used for diarrhea and like a deficiency kind of gastro bug treatment, but it also just rectifies that center of the body, that spleen and stomach energy. So, a practitioner may sort of prescribe something around that formula, so it sort of warms the water to transform the damp. Yep. So cool. Hopefully that's helpful to you. If you don't want to do, if you're not sure where those points are, you could just massage the stomach channel on the leg and the spleen channel on the leg, on the lower leg. Like that will still stimulate those two areas. Right. Jacqueline asked a follow-up question when I was talking about the qigong thing about the Sifu. Is he a healer? The Sifu you interviewed. Gwaine. He's studying Chinese herbs, and he practices the same kind of herb system that I do now. So he's sort of begun studies in that a few years ago, and he comes from a really big background of Chinese medicine. Like his dad used to do a lot of Chinese herbs, really in the old school kind of way. So he's had a lot of experience with Chinese medicine, but his main thing is Kung Fu, right? It's always been, Kung Fu, Qigong, Tai Chi. He does do some kind of, I think he does some kind of Qigong kind of healings for people as well, like people that are part of the school, right? His students. All right. Cool. All right. Any other questions that people have at this early hour of the morning of the crack of 10 a.m. I'm going to look on my thing if I have some other things here to answer. There's a lot of there's quite a few questions, but I'm not sure which ones I can easily answer. I'm trying to look for ones I can give an answer to easily. Some of them aren't questions; they're just comments. So I'm just kind of scrolling through. Let's have a look here. Oh, here's a great question. Can acupuncture help with chronic lower back pain? This will probably be it's a question on its own. A video on its own. Jacqueline says, can we see Sifu, like you mean Sifu Gwaine? Hang on a minute. Something's happened there. I said something on my head. I started to add something and I was like, what? Okay, we're just going to... can you see Sifu Gwaine for healing? I don't think he does that externally, as in you'd have to be local to him. So you can certainly contact him from the stuff that we put on the YouTube channel. His website and all the stuff is there. So you can only ask, I guess, and send him an email or something and send a message. All right, so this is a good question here. Can acupuncture help with chronic lower back pain? yes, it can. And yes, this is one of the things that there is sufficient evidence for us to talk about it in Australia. We have massive rules and regulations about what we can say here, about whether we can make a claim of whether it can help. So there are a lot of ways that acupuncturists can go about helping someone with back pain, like a myriad of treatments that can be done for it. So I might make a longer video about this, but it's, it is something that we can say, yes, it has been shown to be effective in studies where they've done studies of acupuncture versus like what they would say is the conventional care, which would be ibuprofen medicine, like anti-inflammatory medication, or things like that, other standards of care. So it's comparable to that. It's not necessarily better than that, but there's less side effects than there's no side effects in doing acupuncture or internally on your body like there would be with medications, right? The cost is obviously higher to go and have acupuncture than to take over-the-counter medications, but the cost is lower for your body. There's always side effects, it's not side effects. There's always potential adverse effects that can happen from acupuncture. It's not to say, it's just natural and safe and nothing will happen. People can experience bleeding or bruising with, a little bit of blood can come out and a bruise can happen. And it's, a small amount of people can have things, where they feel lightheaded or stuff like that from the treatment. But in general, what I do for back pains is I use a lot of moxa, as in most patients I see for back pain. I can't say all of them, but most of them would have moxibustion, particularly when it's so bad that, it's cramped. The muscles are so tight around that lower back, and they can't move very easily. It's very stiff, and the moxa is really great for sort of relaxing that area and sort of opening that area up. And it's less invasive than acupuncture in a way. So when you stick an acupuncture needle into the back and it's already tight, often the muscles tighten up a little bit more, like what I've done now. And so that leads me to the other idea of a lot of acupuncturists will use a thing called distal needling. So we use points on your arms or your legs that relate to your back. And if it's happened within the first couple of days of seeing the practitioner, it can often release very quickly with even one or two treatments. I've even seen some people where it's just gone away from one treatment. Now, it can be something where you need to repeatedly treat things. The reason for back pain. So this person's talking about chronic lower back pain, like it's just there all the time. Usually people like that will have a flare up. So it's about managing it, without and managing those flare ups. So normally what I would do is see a patient once a week for about 3 weeks to 6 weeks at least. If they can come 6 weeks, great, right? We do that, and usually by that stage, it's the pain will be lower, or the situation will be lower. All the inflammation and stuff that's there, the tightness, their ability to walk or do stuff will hopefully be better. And then they may be good to go. They may be okay for a while, or they may just be on a maintenance thing where once a month they come in. And I've had some patients that do that for a while, and then it seems like after a while even of that, they may not need that anymore. But if it comes back again, flared up, the earlier you seek treatment, the better the results are. The less treatments you actually need, and the longer the results, the less treatment you'll need in that flare up if you've already had acupuncture, is what I'm trying to say. That's generally how it works. Everyone's different. So that's answering that question. All right, so we'll probably let's just take that one off. If there's any other questions here from the live people, I'll answer them. Otherwise, we may finish the stream earlier today. Let me have a quick look if there's anything else I need to catch up on here. So there's a few questions here I've got that need sort of longer answers. They're just a little, or maybe not so much longer answers, but me to kind of really think about it a bit more. Someone's asking a question about ADHD, and sort of trying to improve their function with ADHD. I'm just going to put a little note on this one for the one we just did, the chronic lower back pain. Going to answer these, so I'm just going to answer these people in their comments so that they know I've answered it on the stream, and then we can go from there. So I was kind of thinking about this a little bit. This is an interesting sort of a question. I feel like I need a piece of paper to write out the elements here to answer this properly, but about ADHD and sort of tasks and things like that. I'm going to put this question on the screen now. So this was on one of the videos. I think it was on a short clip from one of the about willpower and about, you know, the JER. I'll just put this up the top there. I'll put me down below. Something like that. There we go. Maybe we'll put that down the bottom. There we go. So let's just read this out. This is about ADHD. Zoe says, this sounds interesting, and this was about harness the power of the will this new year. So it was a little clip about using motivation and willpower and that how to generate that will, that JER. As I have ADHD diagnosis and oftentimes don't have the follow through for tasks or good executive function, how could I improve this with TCM? So if the elements are in health physically, that usually will be reflected emotionally. So the first place to kind of start the diagnosis process for you would be to look at the elements, look at the where we think that should come from. Is there a deficiency there of that element? And then how to tonify that element, how to strengthen that element. Okay. You could see a 5-element practitioner for this kind of stuff. That's definitely something that they deal with, and even some, let's say, stock standard TCM practitioners that are interested in this stuff enough, they can utilize these kind of tools and these principles, right? But it's just not every practitioner's cup of tea, thing. And it doesn't matter if you've got ADHD or not. If you just feel like you want to improve these functions, this video, this little section will help you. So, like following through for tasks, right? Like you, and I'm just going to hazard a guess here, or give some examples of things that may be there. They may not be there. Okay, so I'm not trying to say this is wrong with you, something like that. We're just going to go through the possibilities so we can kind of work out the diagnosis. So who's in charge of follow through, right? What is that follow through? So you've decided you want to do something, but then you sort of can't, maybe you get easily distracted, like you sort of aren't able to commit to that. So ultimately that's probably going to come down to a metal element function. Okay. Like metal is more about, how about next week? What does that mean? Sorry, someone just, I'm just reading the comments here, popping up. I don't, just some random. I don't know what you mean. How about next week? Yeah, how about it? Sorry, what was I going to say? Metal is relating to discipline and structure. Okay, and it's not just metal, but that allows us to stick to a plan and have regimen and discipline in our lives. Okay. And for some people that's very hard to do if everything around you is chaotic. Okay. So I'm not saying, it's not trying to judge you and say that this is what's happening at all. But if everything around you is messy, it's very hard for your brain to not be messy in that way, right? So that clutteredness. Oh, am I going to have a stream next week? Thank you. I probably will. I'm not 100% sure. It's Australia Day. We could have an Aussie themed Chinese medicine stream. I'll bring my little koala for you. I'll just jump off topic to this answer this because the reason why I do these streams is to have a chat with people back and forward. I'm not 100% sure. I'm going away next week. I'm going to Brisbane for 2 weeks to do a herbs course, and it's just a lot, and I'm trying to get everything organised, so I will not be able to have a stream the following 2 weeks. I will try and do the stream. So I do classes for Chinese medicine on a Sunday night, and what's been good is I leave all the Sunday night for me. I leave all the gear in the room, and then I could just jump in here and do the stream on the Monday morning. I blocked out the patients, but yeah, there's other stuff I want to do on Australia Day too to celebrate. to have Australianness. There's some stuff on that I want to go to. I don't know. It won't interfere with me doing this stream, I don't think, if I do it at 9 o'clock in the morning. So I probably will have the stream next week, and I probably will. What was I going to say? I probably will. Then the next 2 weeks there won't be a stream. I am taking my gear to Queensland, so I may be able to pop up and do a stream randomly in the week, but I probably won't. I'm just going to record some people for a podcast interview, some lovely practitioners from Queensland, which will be kind of good. Anyway, so yeah, just to quickly answer this question, and then we'll jump into this other question from Urena Cabrera. I can see your question there. I'll get onto that in a sec. So for this ADHD question, right? So what discipline comes from that metal element? So, like, it might sound obvious, like, to declutter your space. That organisation. So to promote organisation, doing something in the physical can sometimes help you in the mental. Now, the metal element comes. I'm going to see if I can find my little 5-element picture here, because that'll be helping us while I'm talking, because we'll need it for something else as well. I'm just going to see if I can find this picture as we go. Oh, we got it. Great. Okay, so I'm going to stick that on the screen here. So if you look at this little 5-element picture, you can see that metal's sort of in the grey one, and the earth generates the metal. Okay, so this cycle that you can see is the generating cycle. So to get more metal, we need earth to be strong. So that's digestion. That's your eating, your diet. So the more you can clean up your diet, and I'm not saying you don't have a clean diet. You may have a perfect diet. So if you were a patient of mine, that's the first thing I'd be checking. I'd be saying, what's your diet like? How's like if you're eating any packet foods or processed foods, or even going on a ketogenic diet can remove all the sugar from your diet, and that will be a very low kind of dampness diet. See what that does. That's one way of doing of helping that, and see if that helps your brain function. So by strengthening earth, right, it's able to generate metal. Okay, and another thing then we look at is if you go to fire, controls metal. So there's a controlling cycle. Metal controls wood, wood controls earth, earth controls water. So fire controls metal. So if fire's not strong, it's going to lack the ability to control the metal, or it's so that's your heart, your physical heart, right? So this could be someone who's got an actual physical heart pathology, or your sleep, your your cognitive, like all, I mean, you could say all these mental functions are related to that too. Your Shen, but your sleep has got, you know, a lot to answer for in most of our pathologies. And or fire could be like over controlling metal and making it like disrupting it. And in that way, you know, it might be someone who's really seeking pleasure and unable to control their urges and things like that, you know, and that's sort of like an exuberant abundance of overactive kind of fire. Yeah, so there's a lot of options there. So that is let's just make that a little, let's make that thing a little bit smaller so that I can keep it on the screen. Yeah, so that's that one. I'm going to answer this other question now. So Urena says, I'm losing hair. I've got a hair loss kind of question. Put this here. Help, hang on, I've got to put it on big so we can all see it. Hang on a minute. There we go. Help, I'm losing hair. It's dry. Is this related to liver qi stagnation? Anything you recommend for herbs? So it can be. I've kept that 5 element thing on there for a reason because it'd be handy for us to kind of look at that. So wood element relates to liver qi. So it can be in a way related to the wood, where if you've got qi stagnation, it's a disruption of that wood element, and often there's sort of two sides to the wood, which is the blood, right? So blood nourishes the hair. So not having it's often dryness in the hair is often not enough blood to nourish the hair. So it's often a blood deficiency. If the hair falls out in sort of clumps and it's an unusual amount of hair loss suddenly, it can be a shock, which relates to the water element, the kidneys, or the fire element, which is, you know, to do with the Shen, disturbance of the Shen. Often a shock, like an unexpected shock, it just suddenly kind of comes out. That's not necessarily blood deficiency. Okay, but then after that shock and the hair sort of starts to come out, then people go, oh, my hair's really dry, because that shock or that sort of, you know, unexpected thing has then led on to a blood deficiency kind of scenario. So this person says, for the past week I've been super depressed. I'm sorry to hear that. That's not great. I added more meat, dates and red stuff and warming foods like ginger, but the hair loss has gotten pretty bad. So yeah, I'm sorry that's happening. You're doing the right thing in terms of those foods, but that takes a while for it to work. Okay, it takes ages for it to work, like months for it to work. I noticed a difference on my own self. Like I wouldn't say I've got like hair loss or something, but my hair's getting thinner, and now our family is genetically, like all my aunties have very thin. My mum has very thin hair. All my aunties have very thin wispy hair, and like I look at them and think, oh my goodness, that's going to happen to me, because we're all related, right? And something which was really strange, and I dye my hair. I just like it being red. It's not naturally red. And I've done that all my life before I even had any grey hairs. So I've just used hundreds of packets of box dye. That's probably not good for your hair, right? And I know that's not great. So, but I noticed a massive difference when I went on the carnivore diet strictly, and this is including carnivore strict, no alcohol, that when I would wash my hair, no hair would come out. So like I washed my hair over the sink, and I followed this guy that talks about how to wash your hair, so you only have to wash it hardly ever, like as in, once or twice a week. And since I followed this guy, this YouTube guy, this hairdresser guy, it's called Blowout something, Professor Blowout, something like that. And that's not Chinese medicine, but that makes a big difference, right? Because I was washing my hair every day. But then, okay, so now I've been doing this hair routine for like a year, and washing my hair over the sink so I can do it this special way. And then, like, every time I wash my hair, strands of hair will come out, and I just thought, oh, okay, that's just normal. When I started doing the carnivore diet, after 2 months on it, hair wasn't coming out. Or every second time I wash my hair will come out. Now, hair's coming out, right? You're brushing your hair's coming out because your hairbrush is full of hair and stuff like that. So like that definitely made a difference. I don't think it's just the meat. I think it's all the stuff you're not having, all the carbs and things like that are helping your blood vessels get strong, which then helps your blood to last longer. So your body's not producing the blood as quickly. Like they say for people on a carnivore diet that their red blood cells will last longer than a person who's not on a carnivore diet. We're talking long term, people who are on it for years and years, right? So this is just interesting. Now, the stuff you're doing with the meat and the warming foods like ginger is good because that's going to help to increase that yang in the blood. So you just got to stick with it. There are herbal formulas that could be used from an acupuncturist, a herbalist, that could prescribe formulas to you that are more kind of blood tonic based things. One of the herbs that's used in cooking for blood tonification is pretty easy to get, and it's not going to make you, drastically worse if you don't need it. Then that's why I'll mention it. It's called dungwei. So you can buy that from Chinese food shops, and it's not a warming food, right? But you can often put dungwei with lamb, with ginger, lamb, and dungwei. And what you do is you take a little bit of that dungwei and you boil it up into with the soup part of the stuff that you're cooking. The meats, you could, you don't eat that dungwei. It's just part of the liquid that's there. That's so the meat is kind of stewing in that liquid, is what I'm trying to say. My aircon's like, if I turn it off, it gets hot, but then if I have it on, it's getting too cold. I'm trying to, there we go, get it to not be so cold, there we go. Right, I think that's fix it. Not be so powerful. It's a good problem to have. I think it's going to be 41 this week. In 2 days from now, it's going to be really hot. So I'm just kind of mentally preparing myself for the heat, for the hot weather. So look, tonifying blood, like getting to a place of blood deficiency takes time, and getting out of blood deficiency takes time. So the other place to look is what's the purpose of dungwei? It's a blood tonic herb. It tonifies blood. That's what it does. Dungwei is a blood tonic herb. Just looking on the shelf here if I have any. I don't have any here, but it sort of looks a bit like this one here. This is Baiju, but it's not as thick as that. It's sort of more flaky kind of looking. Dungwei must be in the other room. But it's also very easy to get it. Okay, like you can buy it from Chinese food shops. You can probably see it in packets alongside other blood tonic foods. And it's also used in recipes in the Jingwei, which is an old Chinese medicine text by Zhang Zhongjing, as a formula with meat to be eaten, right? Saying cook with that dungwei. So it's something you can do. So the blood deficiency can actually cause the depression as well, right? So the fire element at the top here, we can see that is element that relates to joy and being able to feel happy, and not joy necessarily as in, oh, I'm just mad, I'm crazy. I mean, that would be too much fire, right? There's sort of a manic person. But being able to experience happiness and fulfillment and things like that, that's fire, right? And like there can be a few reasons why people get into a state of depression in Chinese medicine. It can be wood not generating fire, so that motivation sort of not there. So you asked at the start, is it qi stag? Is it related to qi stagnation? So if liver qi is stuck and stagnant over a long period of time, that in the background is kind of generating. It's going to lead to blood deficiency, which means that wood then can't generate. So it's not technically liver qi stagnation. It's leading to wood not generating fire, and that's liver blood deficiency. If you've got dryness in your body, dry skin, if you've got very heavy periods or very scanty periods, so they're two ends of the spectrum, heavy periods all the time, and that was the other thing I was going to mention. Like for blood, like if your menstrual cycle is disrupted, and you don't have to put a lot of personal details in the chat, I understand people don't necessarily want to do that, that's fine. And I'm not trying to give you a personal diagnosis here, but these are things that you'd want to look into. So if your menstrual cycle is really heavy, that's your body is just dumping out extra blood, creating extra blood all the time that it could be using, in other ways, repurposing in other ways for your body. So having that treated, will help. And in some cases, the way we treat heavy periods is actually to tonify. Another herb that's used that just reminds me of that is, I'm going to give you this as an example herb, okay, is urjiao or gelatin. Now, urjiao is donkey hide gelatin, but in my clinic, we don't really use that anymore because there's a lot of cruelty that happens with the donkeys. And our supplier just doesn't supply it anymore because they can't get it anyway without the cruelty of the way. I'm not going to explain how they get it because it's just horrible. So they give us bovine, grass-fed bovine gelatin. It's organic. And I've been using that in my clinic for at least 2 or 3 years now, and I don't notice any difference when I'm using like that in a formula to treat someone to treat that blood. It seems to work the same as the urjiao, right? Now, what's the grass-fed bovine gelatin? It's the same gelatin that you buy for yourself, pretty much, right? As long as you can get that good quality. And you can make that gelatin in different ways. So that's another food. That's almost like a superfood, also a herb. So I've mentioned this on the channel before, but I'll say it now because I don't know if you've heard this. So the simplest and easiest way to do this is to buy a piece of meat with plenty of fat on it and a bone in it. So that would be a piece of lamb. We'll definitely do this. Now, I just did this on the weekend with just a piece of rump steak, a rump roast. Lots of fat on the top. You want that there because that's going to render into the goodness. Okay, and what you do is you take that piece of meat, and I'll often do this with a lamb shoulder or something like that, and just coat it with salt and pepper. You don't need lots of spices on it. If you want to put some flavoring on there that's, not sugar or something like, some herbs and spices, you can do that. But you don't need to. It'll be flavoursome by itself. And then you take that whole thing and you put that into the slow cooker, right? And what you do in the slow cooker is you just put the lid on and leave it there. Now, this one I left for... I could have taken it out at midnight, but it was because it was ready. But I just left it on low till the next morning because I couldn't be... So I must have been 16 hours it was in that slow cooker, right? So delicious. It's making me hungry just thinking about it now. So then you take that whole thing out, you eat the meat that you want to eat at, the time nice and hot, but then you take that whole thing out, you just put it into a glass kind of dish and let it cool a little bit and put it in the fridge. And then you'll have 3 layers of stuff. You'll have the meat, you'll have this layer of fat, and underneath that layer of fat, you'll have the gelatin. So what I usually do is I just use that as my meat for the week. But that gelatin is that's where all the collagen is. And I usually I just usually eat the gelatin, through the week, because especially if I'm doing carnivore diet, that's kind of, if I'm hungry, that's what I'll have. you can take a little bit of that gelatin. It's the same stuff you'd make as if you were making a bone broth, except you don't have the liquid underneath there as well, right? And then you can put a little bit of that in a cup and put a bit more hot water, boiling hot water, make it into a little bit of a soup to kind of sip on if you like that. But you can just kind of eat that gelatin, and that gelatin is the same. It's going to help nourish your hair. It's going to help, nourish blood. It's the cheapest way you can do it, right? You can go to the shops and buy collagen powder and gelatin powder. It's all comes from there. It comes from that process pretty much. When you do it with lamb, you'll notice, because there's more stuff in the bone that will kind of come out, and that's how you can get it. So that's the best way to do that. So you can also add this kind of gelatin to your food if you want to. Like if you're making things and you don't mind gelatin in the food, you can. You don't want to have crazy amounts of powdered gelatin if you don't need it, but you'll get plenty of it if you just make it with the Make it with the meat, right? So Urena says, it's ironic because my period is normal. That's why it's hard to pin what it is. My skin has always been dry and I've always had a lot of eczema. But I guess my body's been showing signs now. Yeah. So it doesn't have to be your cycle stuff, right? And that's great that your cycle is normal. That's good. It can be stress. Like stress can it cause a disruption here. I was trying to use my mouse on the thing, but you can't see what I'm pointing at on here where you've got the. Let me see if I can get that there. Water. I'm trying to look in the thing to the fire, right? So this water to fire. Anyway, it's very strange. Trying to point there, but that's the heart and the kidney, the water and the fire scenario, right? And for if that connection is that connection can be disrupted by stress and sleep. So these are all things that are part of making blood. And look, some people just have generally a blood deficient type of constitution. They're going to dry out as they get older rather than puff out. They're not going to be more puffy types of people. They're going to be more drier types of people. And that means as we age, certain things deteriorate. Otherwise we'd live forever. We'd never die. We'd never deteriorate. So if we for some people that's just, it's it's your genetics that's going to happen. So it doesn't mean we can't help it, but you look around at your friends and you think, why is that not happening to them? Because sometimes life happens and it affects you differently because of your constitution, right? Yeah. So just if you can buy a slow cooker, or they used to call them crock pots, it's the cheapest way to make this stuff, and you'll be good to go for a long time. You'll be very you won't regret it. And if you're a single person, one person in the home, that meat that I made yesterday will last me the whole week. Now that's not all I'm going to eat, okay? But it's good value is what I'm saying. And you can eat it cold. You can heat it up, and it's also something you can do with cheaper cuts of meat, because because of the slow cooking, it just makes them break down. So the meat itself breaks down so easily. So I'm just trying to think if there's anything else for hair that I've mentioned. I did do a video on hair talking about the two things, the blood deficiency and the stress thing, where with the floating yang. So yang can float up and make the head hot, and the heat and the hair can fall out. And that's the stress sort of scenario. It doesn't have to be a one-off shock, right? And they do talk about there's one herb in Chinese medicine called Herschel wool, which is a herb that's said to blacken the hair. Okay, and what they mean by that, it means it restores hair from being grey, because this is in Chinese people who only ever had black hair, right? They only have different colours hair now because of hair dyes. But once upon a time, you would never see a person in China without black hair, right? They've all got black hair. So, the Herschel wool is like very, very well known for that. And it can help with hair loss as well. It's a blood tonic herb. And if you go to China or Chinatown and you look around in these Chinese food shops, you'll often see products made out of Herschel wool. Like I've not used that herb by its, I mean, I've got it here somewhere. It is very dark. Yeah, just looking to see if it's on the shelf there. It's not. It's very black looking. Dungwei is going to give your food a certain taste. You're going to taste what it tastes like, okay? But Herschel wool is pretty strong. Like, I don't know whether I could cook with Herschel wool and serve that to other people. They'd be like, "Ooh, this is probably a bit too strong flavored." So that's part of cooking with the herbs is it's got to be palatable, right? Because now you've made a whole dish with it and you don't want to waste that medicine. So some herbs are better off just having. Now you have to be careful with herbs overusing them and these one-off sort of herbs. There's a guy that died in China from having too much Herschel wool, okay? Because what happens is people get wind of this stuff, just like in the West where they go, oh, this is a superfood, I'm going to have it. And apparently he, was using Herschel wool shampoo and washing his hair with it and then using Herschel wool soap and like external liniments of Herschel wool or whatever like that and going to different doctors and getting more and more prescriptions. It's like a patient coming to me and they say, I've never had Chinese medicine before, I'm not taking any medicine. And then you give them medicine and then they go to another doctor and get a different prescription. And he was taking so much, he damaged his liver and kidneys and he died, right? So, this is why I worry sometimes where people self-prescribing stuff. So you've got to be careful you don't this guy was a lot. It was an excessive amount. But yeah, so that is another herb that you're probably going to, I don't know how easy you'll find it at sort of the Chinese supermarket, probably because it's just not that palatable, but it is a well-known thing. And you might even see things with it's called HESHOUWU, woo, Herschel woo, the herb. So just keep doing your bone broths and you add your dates and your goji berries to it. That's great. You don't need to boil the goji berries to buggery. You can just add them sort of in at the end. And that stuff nourishes blood. The dates are really good for depression, right? It really helps to nourish the heart, Shen. The goji kind of do that as well. And then, you do need to find a way to deal with the stress, right? So for liver qi stagnation, the three things that work really well is singing, laughing, and exercise, right? So these things move qi through the chest and push it out. Now, the other thing that's kind of, I'll probably just finish the stream on this because I'll finish up soon, is creativity. So your wood element is the one that's in charge of that life planning and seeing a vision for your life. That idea of like you see yourself in 5 years, you can see yourself in 10 years or whatever it is, right? You can see yourself in the future. That's the wood element doing that. And when you've got severe depression, sometimes you can't see anything more than you can't even see today. Like you can't even see ahead of that. You just think, I can't even I just need to get through today, let alone like someone asks you, if you're in that state and then you go and you have an interview or someone asks you, well, how do you feel about life where do you see yourself in 3 years? And you're like, shit, I can't even capacitate today. Like it was really a lot of effort for me to just get out of bed. And like, that's the wood element that provides us with that stuff, right? Now, if you're in a position in wherever you are in life and you're not doing what you enjoy, and now what I mean by that is not that everything I do is enjoyable. Like I am in a position in my life where what I do is I enjoy. But every task I have to do today, I'm not going to love it, right? I'm going to go, I have to clean the clinic after this. I have to pack up all the equipment that I've put in this room so that the patients can come in. I'm not going to enjoy that, but I do that. You endure something so that you enjoy, it's not like it's a hardship. I just have to do it. Just things that you have to do. Right. So what I mean by you enjoying, you're in a position that you enjoy your life, but you're enjoying the fruit of your labor. You're enjoying, like for the most part, you enjoy what you do. And you feel like you have that autonomy you have, well, to be able to have, I've got a whole video on this, on the autonomous motivation thing, which is a really powerful tool in psychology, right? So you've got, go and have a look at that video. I'll see if I can find a link to it, because it's got a weird name, motivation, 3 things you must have. Yeah, that's what this is. I'm gonna, oh no, so, oh no, it's just playing by itself. I'm gonna link this video, because if you haven't watched this, Urena Cabrera, you need to watch this, okay, when you've got time, and just watch that video, because it talks, it's me sort of talking about this psychology, that the psychological tool about motivation and connectedness and relatedness and stuff like that, and like starting with that can sometimes pull you out of that a bit, that rut. But the other thing that you can use when you're in a state of really just feeling terrible, like you just feel like, I can't get through this day, like this is just, you're at that point where you're just really struggling, is actually the strengths, it's called strengths psychology. Well, it's not called that. There was a psychologist called Martin Seligman, and he wrote a book called Strengths and Virtues, and he identified that people have 24 different character strengths within them. And his idea, well, not all of his idea, but one of his ideas was, if you do an activity, something new that you've never done before, that's in one of those character strengths, that's your top 5 strengths, that in itself generates happiness. So he's talking about just generating fire. How can we generate fire? Like, how can we generate that, just that sensation of happiness? And then when you feel happy, you feel good, then you're in a position to go, oh, actually, I need to do this. Oh, actually, I need to make a change there, or I need to do this, right? Like if you're in a job, you in a work you don't enjoy, I'm not trying to be crass about that. It's very, very complicated. You know, you can't just quit your job, because then you're like in a worse situation. You're like, how am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to pay my mortgage? How am I going to feed myself? All this kind of stuff, right? They're legitimate things. The fear of that unknown, right? But if you start to generate that happiness, and that you start to do the things that make you create you're operating in that sense of creativity, that in itself is going to generate wood, which in turn generates fire, which is the happiness. Okay. You can also use this Martin Seligman's thing. There's a website called VIA Strengths. I'm not affiliated with them in any way. VIA Strengths. And you just Google that and you'll find it. And you can do this free strengths test. And then what you do is it'll do it when you're not hungry, the test when you're not hungry, when you've got time and you're not super depressed at the time of doing the test, okay? Take your time. You get an email, here's your top 5 strengths. Then you pick something that's in those strengths, in one of them. So one of your strengths might be creativity, and you do something you've never done before. So like if you've never done painting, just go and get some things and do some painting. And there's no pressure or expectation there, right? Pottery or dance, or, you know, something that you've never done before, you do that and do it within your means. Obviously, you know, you might not have money to go and do a class. Maybe you just, one of the strengths is appreciation of beauty. So go to an art gallery, look around, find some beautiful things, go for a walk, and just pick 5 things that are beautiful on that walk. Just notice them, take a photo of them. You know, that kind of simple thing. Doing those practices helps to pull out of that deep depression, right? And you don't do a lot of those things, just do one of those things. Cool. All right. So look, I hope that stuff helps you, and I hope that other people watching this have been helped in some way. So I'm going to do my best to do a stream next week. There definitely won't be one the next 2 weeks after, because I'll be away. So put your comments, put your questions, and I will try and answer them the next time we do a stream. Yeah, and have a great week, everyone. Enjoy. This is the 3rd week of the year, right? 2026 is upon us. Exciting times, right? It's a good time to be alive. It's going to be the year of the horse as well, like coming into that. I think it's mid-February. That's the year of the horse starting. Yeah. So Tara said, I have pain F13. I'm not sure what that means. After I eat. So, yeah, maybe you need to go and see a practitioner if it's a new pain. I can't give individual advice on this channel to people. Like if people have pain that's undiagnosed, you need to go and see a practitioner, because that's a sign that there's something there, right? That pain is a lever. Yeah, I'm not sure what that. I'm just trying to puzzle out your question. Yeah, pain is a sign of, something that your body, there's something's wrong. Okay. Now it can be if you know what the reason, you've already had a diagnosis and you kind of know what the pain is. Well, that's fine. Liver channel. Oh, liver. Okay. Oh, you said lever. Okay. Like you mean at liver 13, like you have pain around that liver 13 area. Yep. So yeah, probably go and see a practitioner about that. And especially if something's getting worse and worse, or every time you eat, it happens. Yeah. So it might, I can't give an individual advice on this channel. So the advice I have to give you is go and see your practitioner. That could be an issue with your gallbladder. There could be lots of things going on there. For many people, drinking ginger tea before they eat can kind of help ease digestive discomfort. You just make it by 5 slices of fresh ginger. It has to be the fresh ginger, not the dry ginger. And you make that, you put a cup boiling hot water. You can have a teaspoon of honey with it, and you let it steep there for as long as you can, and then you just drink that before you eat. And what that does is it relaxes the stomach. So some people have pain around eating because their stomach is tight, like this, the sphincter is sort of at the bottom is tight. The stuff can't go down. So your stomach system has every organ system has an energy flow. So your stomach energy goes down. It's not supposed to go up. It's not supposed to sit there. It's supposed to go down. So if it doesn't go down, there's often blockage and pain and things like that. So yeah, but if anyone has an undiagnosed pain, if you go and see a Chinese medicine practitioner, they may then refer you to a GP. So general practitioner is what we say in Australia, GP, right? So that's the only way you're going to know what's the Western medicine cause of these things. So by them doing a scan or ruling stuff out, so if you've got undiagnosed pain, and it's not just happened once, it's happening every time, then these are things that you should go and get it looked at, right? Because it's not supposed to, your body's trying to tell you something. Yeah. So awesome. All right. So I will do my best to come back next week, and we'll do a short stream for Australia Day. Woohoo. I'll bring I'll see if I can find a little koala or something like that. We'll put it there. All right. Have a great rest of the week.